Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday International Big Book Workshop. I'm Dan B, recovered alcoholic, sobriety date 1st of February 2021. This workshop is facilitated by Kemble H. This study relies on you listening, but please, we pray that you have your big book in hand and follow along with a pen, pencil, or highlighter. Make any notes you need to and pause if you have to. Write down any questions and we'll take them at the end of the meeting. We will keep everybody muted during this workshop except for the facilitators. Any inappropriate behaviour will not be tolerated and you'll be removed from by one of the co-hosts. This meeting is being recorded. The audio portion only is being recorded and only of the facilitators. And this recording will be shut down at the end of the meeting to preserve your anonymity. Have a great meeting, everybody. And how we open this meeting is with the step 3 prayer found on page 63. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Thank you. And over to you, Kemble.
Okay, thank you, Brother Dan, for the great introduction. Happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome to the Keystone International Big Book Workshop. It's a beautiful day to be alive and sober once again, thanks to God, an AA program of recovery. So this is a facilitated meeting. It means I'll be doing the talking, most of the talking, and Dan will be assisting me with some reading. And I want to finish up interaction part 3. Last week we got all the way almost to the promises on page 83, so we'll pick up there today. And we went through several of the steps in the previous 2 interaction meetings. So today we'll try to finish this from page 83 to 88, covering steps 10 and step 11 and the end of step 9. And we'll go from there. So, and any questions afterward or any comments afterward would be greatly appreciated. And welcome anybody new, anybody struggling, anybody coming back. We're here to do a job that's to carry this message to other alcoholics and help them achieve sobriety or continue sobriety. So, with that being said, I'd like to start. I want to read something on page 83. And it goes, it's at the middle of the book. It says, the spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. Well, as we know, Alcoholics Anonymous is a spiritual program. So throughout the book up to this point and on as we go ahead, Bill constantly offers us a spiritual solution. You know, he built a spiritual structure throughout the book. So today we're going to be touching on some points and highlights of how we can continue our spiritual growth. Because there's my man Jim back on page 35, right? He did well for a while. He did steps 1, 2, and 3, but he felt he had to stop right there. So he didn't enhance and enlarge his spiritual life, and of course he drank again. The solution to our problem with alcoholism is simply spiritual, provided we take certain steps and follow certain directions. I know in my drinking career, I would do step 1 and then I relapse again because I ain't have a solution. I thought step 1 was good enough. Then I read steps on the wall and then I go out drinking again. You know, that never solved my problem. But when I was 12 steps through this thing by the Keystone Group and a member of the Keystone Group, I found a solution here by the book. See, I struggled in a fellowship for 3 decades, in and out the fellowship, constantly relapsing, couldn't keep myself sober for nothing in the world. So I thank God today that my sobriety is based on a power greater than myself, which simply solved my alcohol problem. I had to deal with other problems in life, but I'll be going through some things today and show us how we can continue this progress we are at now. So here, I want to share something that somebody shared with me, right? His name is John McQueenie, and this was from a seminar, the Big Book Comes Alive seminar. So he read the promises, right, which we'll be touching on in a moment. And it goes on to say, when I drink alcohol, I would know a new freedom and a new happiness. When I drank alcohol, I would not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. When I drank alcohol, I would comprehend the word serenity and I would know peace. When I drank alcohol, no matter how far down the hill I had gone, I would see how my experience could benefit others. When I drank alcohol, that feeling of uselessness and self-pity would disappear. When I drank alcohol, I would lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in my fellows. When I drank alcohol, fear of people and of economic insecurity would leave me. When I drank alcohol, I intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle me. When I drank alcohol, I suddenly realized that God is doing for me what I could not do for myself. My God, no wonder I love to drink. Alcohol did for me what many other things couldn't do for me. And I drank it for so long. You know, alcohol was my friend. It was my go-to. It became my master. So, in looking back at my past, I doubt if I could have lived in a normal society without alcohol. It started so early in life, and then it became the only way I knew how to live. But you know what happened to me? One day that stuff turned against me, and I couldn't live with it, and I couldn't live without it. It began to get me drunk, and I kind of liked the feeling that it made me feel in the beginning. See, we get that sense of ease and comfort which comes at once after taking a drink of alcohol. Lord knows, I didn't know I was a darn alcoholic. Uh, I didn't know this disease was progressive that we suffer from. I didn't know there was a way out of alcoholism. I thought I'd die. Alcoholic drunk. See, we have two alternatives when we begin this program. One is to accept spiritual help, or the other is to be doomed to an alcoholic death. That's where I was headed. So alcohol, it destroyed my life, and I destroyed everybody around me for many years. But I thank God for this program. So, Brother Dan, at the bottom of page 83, I'd like for you to read the promises from 83 to where they stop on page 84.
Sure, excellent, no problem. Hi, everybody. Bottom of page 83, last paragraph. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we'll be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and we'll know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness, and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them.
Okay, thank you, Brother Dan. The promises, share about the promises in just a minute. But if y'all remember, just 31 pages earlier, we went through a list of bedevilments. Back on page 52, and it asks ourselves, we had to ask ourselves why we shouldn't apply to our human problems the same readiness to change our point of view. We were having trouble with personal relationships. We could control our emotional natures. We were a prey to misery and depression. We couldn't make a living. We had a feeling of uselessness. We were full of fear. We were unhappy. We couldn't seem to be a real help to other people. Was this not a basic solution to these bedevilments more important than whether we should see newsreels of lunar flight? Of course it was. So a few pages later, step 9, we get to the promises. You know, when I was being 12 step through this thing, uh, and somebody showed me these promises in this book, you know, I thought way back on 52, page 52, I never get over this fact. I was probably worried about, well, can I finish this course of action? Can I do what I need to be done? But when these promises started to become a reality, as I was going through the steps, you know, other people could see the promises in me before I could. I simply hadn't realized it yet. So, but you know what helped me so much? When I could apply these spiritual principles I had learned up to this point, and it was amazed that today I can do all the things that I thought alcohol was doing for me. Now I could get the sense of ease and comfort by doing what these first 9 steps have done for me so far. So now I can feel just as good from these first 9 steps as I did from drinking alcohol in the beginning. See, at first, alcohol in the beginning, it made all these promises that I said about in the beginning, it made it come true until it took over my butt and it put me down for a long time. So today, we don't need to drink in order to have these promises fulfilled. So far, you know, in my process, when I went through these, took these first 9 steps, they never turned against me. Alcohol did. Alcohol, when I thought was my friend, it became the #1 enemy in my life. When that alcohol was controlling me, you know, it made me thought I was God, but it had control over me, so I couldn't have been God, and it killed me. Almost had me dead so many times. So, and this is another important note. I've never had to go to jail because of this process. By taking this process, I ain't had to go to jail because I ain't been drunk, I ain't raised no hell, I ain't wanted to fight the police, I ain't wanted to fight friends, I hadn't wanted to fight family or none of that other stuff. So, and I never had to vomit from taking these steps. Instead, it brought about something within me that was deep within me, and it set a fire under me. Now, uh, I don't struggle to stay sober. Let me make that very clear because I have a power greater than me that keeps me sober. But by practicing these principles, it works. It really does. So now, so we got the promises, right? And we got the promises, right? And in order to fit ourselves back into a design for living that God had made for us to live in the first place. So then when we can do that, we're not in conflict with God. See, I was in conflict with God for so many years because I didn't give God the credit he deserved. But as I look back on my past, God was with me the whole time. Every situation I've been in, every terrible thing I ever been in, God was there. But I couldn't realize that alcohol had shut him off. That was my major blockage from God, was myself. Well, the alcohol was just a symptom of myself. It was my selfishness and self-centeredness, and these things were that blocked him. The promises, you know, they come true. But then it mentions, wait a minute, I'll get it in just a minute. One thing says, we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. So by this point, it goes on to mention that, well, in the next paragraph, I get to them some promises. I get to that in just a minute too. So, so today, you know, I can realize that these promises make me feel so good. They gave me all the good things that alcohol ever gave me. See, at first in the beginning, drinking alcohol was a lot of fun. It was fun for years. I ain't gonna tell you no lie. It was fun like I don't know what until it turned around like a boomerang, turned around and tried to cut me up to pieces, and it did. So the beautiful thing is step 9 is just is great. So that's enough on the promises because we got more promises coming up in the next paragraph. So brother Dan, where it says this thought brings us to step 10. I'd like you to read from there to the 85 where it says this is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition.
Yeah, no problem. Middle of page 84. This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commenced this way of life as we cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should be continue for our lifetime. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code. And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol, for by this time sanity will have returned. We seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude towards liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it. Neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition.
Okay, thank you, brother. No doubt about it. Yes, buddy. I think as we left the first 9 steps, it's clear that we are now halfway through this stage of our development. Then we're about to enter another phase of continuous growth through the last 3 steps. A lot of times people refer to the last 3 steps as maintenance steps. But you know what? The last 3 steps, actually we'll call them growth steps. But, you know, continuous growth, that's what the book requires of us, steps that we can grow with for the rest of our lives. As we read the promises, you'll see they deal with the mind, right? So none of the promises deal with the body. We came to AA restless, irritable, discontented, filled with shame, fear, guilt, remorse, worry, anger, depression, all these other things. So we work the steps, we receive these promises, and certainly by now we have undergone a change in our personality. We have undergone a spiritual awakening already. And one of the promises that's on page 84 at the bottom of the page, it goes on to say, and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by now, sanity will have returned. That's a recovered state of mind. Sanity will have recovered. Remember, the problem of the alcoholic is centers in the mind. So we can have our mind readjusted now. So we turn our will and our life over to the care of God back in step 3. And we took steps 4 through 9. We cleared away the wreckage from the past. We got the blockages out of the way. So it's a readjustment in the mind. Instead of me depending on me all the time, now I have a God and I have this program that can help me to deal with whatever goes through life. Of course, I have to study this book. And I have to talk to other alcoholics, of course. And I have to talk to God all the time. That's my main source of information. So, but now today, I don't be restless. I don't be irritable. I don't be discontented. And that's a beautiful part of this process that we go through in this book. So it's continuous growth. You know, say like a tree, we plant a tree. It'll continue to grow until it lives a life and then it starts dying. So we keep it, when we plant these trees, because you know, I'm from the South, I'm from deep country. I got experience with planting trees when I was growing up. So but I kept that thing water, making it grow, making it sprout. So, and this was continuous. Now they so big out there, they out of control. It's huge. So, and we have to water this thing. When it comes to AA, we develop a spiritual way of living by practicing these spiritual principles laid out in the book, and it keeps us growing. That's a good part about step 10. We get a chance to look at ourselves in the present and on a day-to-day basis, right? So no doubt. But let me share this now. We decide we need to stop right now, step 9, just trying to maintain where we at today. That's not good enough for an alcoholic of my type. Shoot, if I'd stopped at step 9, I'd have been drunk again because I would have been stuck. I'd have been stuck. So if I don't continue to grow and be a maximum benefit to God and the other people, then I would be messed up. So then I would still be grounded in self if I felt I had to stop right here. So, but if we slow down and stop at this point, we eventually start slipping back and we start having trouble with people, then with ourselves, and then we start having a problem with God, and then we end up drunk all over again. Now, I've seen this in my experience because I personally experienced this myself in my long drinking career in and out of this fellowship. No doubt. So, let's remember continuous growth. Now, Bill talks about a few other things. The dimensions. We got several places in the book where it talks about a fourth dimension and several other dimensions. So, but there's let me share 3 normal dimensions of existence that we as human beings have. We got a dimension of the spirit, right? And it's God, higher power, creator, whatever you want to call it. And we got the dimension of the mind. That's the mental capacities that we have. Remember again, the problem of the alcoholic is centers in his mind. Then we got the dimension of the physical. It's our physical and sociological relationship with the world and everything in it. It's the part of the stuff that we see, the people we deal with, places we may go. I remember in the treatment centers, they talking about people, places, and things. Well, them people, places, and things wasn't the problem there. I was the problem. I brought problems to people, places, and things. So, but anyway, these first 9 steps, they basically put us back together in these normal dimensions of living. But there's 2 times in the big book where Bill mentions this 4th dimension of existence. Once it's in his story in chapter 2. He talks about the 4th dimension is a dimension of living far beyond the normal 3 that I just talked about. You can't explain it, you can't describe it, you can only feel it. And that's what the last 3 steps do. They move us into another dimension. So then, what I can come up with, just think a moment. Let's look back on page 8 in the big book and see a reference of one of the dimensions of living. Page 8, back in Bill's story. And it'll be in the middle of the page, the middle of the book, where it says, Bill, when he says, I was soon to be catapulted into what I like to call the 4th dimension of existence. I was to know happiness, peace, and usefulness in a way of life that is incredibly more wonderful as time passes. And that, my friends, will be on the second full paragraph is where that is located at. And it starts by where it says, trembling, I stepped from the hospital to broke a man. Everybody see that part?
Yeah.
Okay. And it says, fear sold me for a bit. Right? We might can stay sober on fear for a minute, but that's not going to last. But we don't have we don't have a ground, no kind of ground, whatever, for fear to last. So then came the insidious insanity of their first drink. And on our Mrs. Day, 1934, I was off again. So that's part of Bill's experience. I can experience that too. See, I'm a veteran too. Our Armistice Day is November 11th, which we call Veterans Day down here in America, right? So that used to be the day I'm going to show enough be lit up on Veterans Day because I'm a veteran. I'm a war veteran like Bill. So I could relate to Bill. I could identify with Bill. And in the course of taking these steps in this book, I could identify to what they were telling me in this thing. See, it took 100 men and women to put this book together. They gave us all the answers that we need. So getting out of self, it helped me to accept that I need to follow exactly what they did. And then it was on. So then on page 25, it talks about the spiritual experience, right? And again, he refers to this 4th dimension of living, page 25. And I'll read that a little bit. And it goes on to say the great fact is just this and nothing less. That we have had deep and effective spiritual experiences which have revolutionized our whole attitude toward life, toward our fellows, and towards God's universe. The central fact of our lives today is the absolute certainty that our Creator has entered into our hearts and lives in a way which is indeed miraculous. Now, just before that paragraph, he also says, we have found much of heaven and we have been rocketed into a fourth dimension of existence of which we had not even dreamed. No doubt about it. All right. So, little girl, be quiet. That little girl that came back in. From this, we see there's another dimension far beyond the other three. I think we might be some of the most blessed people in the world because most people would never realize there's another dimension of living. I felt the same way. I thought the only dimension for living was my alcohol. The more I drank, that was my dimension. I couldn't get out of it. Anybody know what tunnel vision means? When you drink that alcohol, right, all you can see is a blur in front of you. You can't see to the left. You can't see to the right. Only thing I was looking here forward to was another drink. I'm not caring what's going on this side, not caring on what's going on that side. So we're gonna have to continue to grow in this process, or it's easy to slip back again. And that's something we don't want to do. I know if you was alcoholic as I was, no. So in the study of this book, uh, we see that step 10 is actually the ongoing continuous steps of 4 through 9. See, 4 and 10 are connected. Sit down. Hey, see, step 4, we do a personal inventory, right? Then at 5, we talk to God and another person about these things, these defects, which was baffling us. And so these steps give us this personality change or the growth that we're going to experience. So we have to have the experience, right? So personally, I didn't get a change from steps 1, 2, or 3. All the changes came from doing 4 through 9, which are the action steps. So by my continuous growth steps, by practicing these, was developed in step 11, right? So 10 through 11 and 12 is continuous growth step. But in step 10 does help us. And on top of page 85, I love the fact that it goes on to say, we feel as though we have been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. Problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. This is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. So the first 100 men and women that gave us their experience. So we, as we go through this process, we need to gain that experience that they had as well. And in that way we can grow in this thing. And because the big book gives us a fair warning here in the very next sentence. It says, it is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. Wow. So Dan, if you will, you can read that paragraph right there until the proper use of the will. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our will power as long this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will.
Okay, no doubt. Thank you, brother. Thank you, no doubt about it.
Thank you.
Oh man. So just a quick reminder, a quick review. Okay, remember in step 2, we said we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Remember that insanity, it didn't mean we were crazy, right? We were insane in one area, though. I was totally insane when it came to alcohol. I was an insane fool to take that first drink, already knowing what it was going to do for me. It was going to make me drink more and more and more, but I took that first one because it set off that allergy, that phenomenon of craving. But looking back now, I can remember that little piece was missing about me. No matter how, I didn't think the idea was insane for me to take a drink, but it totally was because I never knew how I was going to control. I mean, I couldn't control it, but I never knew how I was going to react once I took that drink. And it usually turned out very bad, especially in the last 10, 15 years of drinking. But, when the book talks about by now sanity should have returned, and it did. My sanity returned well before step 9, and I thank God for it. But this is a miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? See, back on page 45, it said the main purpose of this book is to enable us to find a power greater than ourselves, which will solve your problem. We emphasize that, have to emphasize that over and over again, because the book doesn't say which will help us to solve or enable us to solve our problem. It simply says which will solve your problem. So, I have people today say, well, I have to do steps 1, 2, and 3 every day. Well, if the problem's been removed, if it's been solved, why do you have to do this? You stuck. That will have me in a stuck state of mind because I'm still be relying on self. I'll be selfish again. Selfishness, self-centeredness, that's dangerous for us real alcoholics. So I'm gonna share this. Somewhere between page 45 and 85, the possession of drink had been removed, right? Mine was removed pretty early because I was taking through the book at a great rate. So that obsession to drink was gone. And eventually I come to realize, well, it's been a long time now, and I hadn't been sitting here drooling about a drink. That's proof then the problem had been removed, right? So I had struggled with alcoholism. What I had to struggle with is my human condition, because that human condition still want to jump in and start, oh, I can run the show now. Well, I done did the steps. I can run the show now, but the lie detector determined, no, you cannot run the show, Kim. You try to run your show, you're gonna be stuck back where you were. So, no, I have to rely on God, no doubt about it. And I'm grateful to God for what He did for all of us, right? God did for us what we could not do for ourselves. And this is the miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Uh, and it's done on one day at a time. It goes on to say about, it's easy to let up on a spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We can't actually, this process growth, we got to keep going. So, and then it talks about we are not cured of alcoholism. No, we know there's no cure for alcoholism. But what the deal is, we have a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Wow, daily reprieve. And how do we attain this daily reprieve? Well, it's pretty simple. Gaining connection with that power greater than ourselves, and it gives us a daily reprieve. Yes, I have recovered from alcoholism, but I'm not cured of alcoholism. It's simple, and it's quite simple. If I take a drink now, I become unrecovered very quick because I suffer from this allergy in my body. And that puts me beyond capacity, because if I ever activate the allergy in my body, I can't shut it off. That means I'm gonna drink till I'm dead. That's the point I was at. Many near-death experiences in my career, a whole lot of them. But then the book talks about uh, these are thoughts. Well, here it is. Let me back up one. It says, every day is the day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities. How can I best serve thee? Instead of saying, how can I best serve me? That's the way I was. How could I best serve me? That was the way that I ran my life. And that's why I was so baffled with alcoholism. When I served myself to alcohol, I couldn't shut it off. and the world became disastrous. But I was the one causing all the darn disasters. And so then it goes on to say, "Thy will, not mine, be done." These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. So it mentions the proper use of the will, right? So I love the idea of exercising this willpower along this line all we wish. Once again, we made a decision back in step 3 to turn our will and our life over to the care of God as we understood Him. Again, 4 through 9, we removed enough self-will, because that was very strong self-will, and our mind became pretty normal, and it straightened up some. You could think better these days, not perfect thinking, but, at least it's better than it was when I was drinking. See, nothing like having that spiritual experience and that psychic change. It changes everything in our life. So now, today we can use our will properly, right? Wow. So, uh, not being self-willed means we got a new way of thinking and a new way of living. Our main purpose is to be a maximum benefit to God and to other people. We don't expect nothing back from other people today as it was in our drinking career. Because in my drinking career, I always expected something out of you, something out of you, and you, and you. So, man, so, uh, page 85, paragraph 2. I got that. Okay, so now I want to read the last paragraph in step 10. It says, "Much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from Him who has all knowledge and power. If we have carefully followed directions, we have begun to sense the flow of His Spirit into us. To some extent, we have become God conscious. We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense, but we must go further." And once again, Bill says that means action and more action. Continue to grow and learn. Growth and experience. We had this experience, and for me, it motivates me. I'm so motivated to stay sober, right? Just like I was so motivated to stay drunk for all them years. The motivation has shifted. The whole life has shifted, for me, and that's by taking these 12 steps, man. I remember the days I used to try to 12 step myself, and that stuff did not work. So I tell you, it's because that malady, right? When that problem center in the mind, that malady is what trick us into taking that drink. So once again, the problem of the alcoholic is centers in the mind. I used to hear people talking about stinking, thinking, and all this other good stuff, and all these years in the fellowship, right? The problem was simply in the mind. Uh, I only thought about alcohol, so and I didn't think nothing was stinking about that thinking, because I said this stuff was gonna make me feel good, man. Mm. So, as humans, most of us, we know, uh, most of what we do know, we can learn through our normal five senses, of direction. For instance, everything I know today is on a conscious level. I learned through hearing, I learned through seeing, I learned through tasting, feeling, I learned through touching. Remember, the malady, we can't see it, hear it, feel it, taste it, or touch it. It happens suddenly. But by now, the problem has been removed. So, and that's what gives us a daily reprieve. We got a stay of execution today by following these few simple directions. So that's how we learn. We learn from the things that we went through. Uh, but today, the shifting my thinking to a power greater than me thinking, that solves all my problems. It really does. So then it talks about, let me share this before I get on step 11. So we learn from these darn senses. I know I did, because I destroyed myself. But it took I would beat up a whole longer time than probably a lot of y'all. I beat up 42 years, relying on my own senses and my own thoughts and my own darn feelings. So, but then let me share this little part. The big book talks about this power within back on page 55. So, if God dwells within us human beings, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm convinced that He does, because He showed me from personal experience what He's did in my life today. He does. And if God has all knowledge and all power, And I'm convinced that he does. Because he the only somebody that had the power to get a drunk like me sobered up. So I believe it. And it's the miracle of it. It's a bunch of miracles sitting in this room. We are all miracles of mental health. And I have no doubt about that. So when it comes to talking about this power, right? I couldn't solve my own alcoholism. I could not do it no matter how hard I tried, no matter whatever I did. But the one who had all power, it did. But the key point is we had to tap into that power. We're going to get into talking about that, tapping into that power. So there is another sense of direction somewhere inside ourselves that if we could tap into that, then we'll have another sense of direction referred to as the sixth sense of direction. You know, which Bill talks about, this sixth sense of direction. And this direction comes from the one who has all knowledge and all power. So, but human beings, we have always known we can tap into something greater than ourselves through prayer and meditation. So that's what step 11, that's the grounds for step 11, because it says sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. No doubt about it. So, you know, I always used to call myself praying during my drinking days. The only thing I could meditate on was another drink. But in recovery, it's quite different. I have to talk to God continuously, 24 hours a day. He's the power that keeps me on level ground, no matter what I go through. Just like back in the step 10 reading, you know, if something crops up, when these crop up, as a matter of fact, back to page 84, it says, this is not an overnight matter. It should continue for a lifetime. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We ask God at once to remove them. And this process, it works. I mean, it really works. It works for me. It works for everybody. There's no doubt about it. So I can share this little funny experience. I remember the days I'm over the toilet, just throwing my guts up, throwing all my everything I done tried to eat or didn't eat, it was coming out. I'm over the toilet, just throwing up, and then I got a whiskey bottle in this hand at the toilet. I'm pouring it down my throat. Now ain't that some insane crap? That's how it was for me. I'm throwing up over the toilet and then pouring whiskey down the other end till it's running out my darn nose. That was plain insanity. So, but now, we as an unsuspected inner resource of power that we can tap into. And this continues in our spiritual growth in step 11. So step 11 is showing that we've done first 10 steps. It's the culmination of all the steps that we've took. So we've taken all these other steps, and that leads us to step 11. Step 10 is just basically pretty much a precursor or introduction to step 11. So, and when we do a quick review, we did step 1, it had to be taken so we could take step 2 because we couldn't see the solution until we understood the problem. Step 1 and 2 gave us what we needed to make a decision. That's back in step 3. So to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. So this decision was a very important decision for me. You know, the book says, first of all, I had to quit playing God. It didn't work. Old ideas didn't work for me either. None of that stuff. But next we had to carry out that decision, right? I had to make a decision to take the rest of these steps. And then that means removing all the blockages that I had, which my biggest block was myself. And that's what kept me from a relationship with God. So, there's a lot of things that was blocking me out, only besides myself, but I'll get it another time. So therefore, we take these action steps, 4 through 9, then we look at 10, and that's a continuation. Step 10 is a continuation of 4 through 9. 4 and 10 is connected. So as a result of 4 through 10, we had these defects removed with God's help, of course. That's the only way they can be removed. Now we can carry out all the things we need to do. And it's solidified in step 11. This accounts to having a changed life, and we had direction to go in today, and it's just been beautiful. So we can change everything now. My course of action started pretty early when it comes to step 11. So, and that's how I have to live my life today. It's in step 11. And Brother Dan, if you will, introducing the step 11 where it says, step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. And you can stop where it says, valuable suggestions on the top of the next paragraph.
Yep, cool.
Okay.
Bottom of page 85, everybody. Step 11 suggests
Mhm.
prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. It would be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions.
Mhm. Oh yeah, no doubt. Appreciate it, brother. Now, step 11. It takes a lot of work, right? It really does. Remember, we still talking about continuous growth, and that's part of in the action because Bill constantly tells us action and more action is required, so we continue to move. Uh, but as you say, step 11, it takes the work of the first 10, and then it must continue for a lifetime. And then it pushes us to step 12, which is a whole nother chapter we'll discuss here in the future. We have been given the power to help others today. So step 11, for me, step 11. And that's how I can live in a daily reprieve today is because of step 11. It's got clear-cut directions. And at the top of page 86, when it talks about when we retire at night, right? We constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe someone an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with a person at once? So we get a chance today to review our day. No doubt about it. Then we can look at it at night. Where were we wrong at? This is growth, continuous growth. And then talks about on awakening. Very key point here on awakening. It says, on awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. Key point, before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest or self-seeking motives. No doubt. Ooh, there's some high points in step 11. I love it. And then it says, under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance. For after all, God gave us brains to use. And thinking about our day, we may face indecision. Now, this is all throughout the day. Now, we talked about when we retire at night, but here's the step 11 pause all throughout the day. Uh, it says, in thinking about our day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Here, we ask God. Now, it says we ask God. That's a simple, short prayer. We can stop and ask God anytime of the day to pause and to pray and keep on moving. So we ask for inspiration and into a thought or decision. We relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. Something pops up, simply talk to God and keep it moving. That's how I have to live my life today. And believe me, it works for me. It really does. Uh, and then it says, relax and take it easy. I don't have to be in a panic mode today, in other words. Or, when I was active drinking and alcohol, yeah, I panicked about everything. I was baffled with fear and everything else. But the process of these steps, it removed all these fears from me. And it gave me a whole new way of living. I can't stress that enough. So I'd like to share something here. I'm going to talk about God consciousness here. So back on page 5, 6, or 7 of the big book, we talked about tapping into that power here in step 11. At the bottom paragraph, as a matter of fact, and I read this for you, Brother Dan. Spiritual experience 5, 6, or 7. It says, what often takes place in a few months could seldom have been accomplished by years of self-discipline. With few exceptions, our members find that they have tapped an unsuspected inner resource which they presently identify with their own conception of a power greater than themselves. Most of us think this awareness of a power greater than ourselves is the essence of spiritual experience. Our more religious members call it God consciousness. So it talks about this power, right? Remember again, page 55, it identifies where this power was at. And then back to step 11. We got, when we retire at night, we got that part covered. We got on awakening covered. Now we got as we go through the day. We got that part covered. So that covers a 24-hour a day car. No doubt about it. Then on top of page 87, it's some promises here. It says what used to be the hunch of the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. That means this process has gradually become a working part of our mind. Being still in experience and having just made conscious contact with God, there's that conscious contact with God. That's that inner resource of power that we are available to tap into today. It is not probable that we are going to be inspired at all times. You may find, or we might pay for this presumption in all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. Nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely up on it. No doubt about it. We come to rely on this unsuspected inner resource that we tap into it. We tap into it. See, the problem has been removed. I hear a lot of people argue. They argue in our Facebook groups that we have. People arguing to me. I've recovered for the rest of my life. Shoot, but if I cut my darn fingernail, am I going to be suffering and recovering from this for the rest of my life? To have recovered from alcoholism due to taking the steps wrote in this book as the first 100 men and women did. So we are not recovering from alcoholism the rest of our life. The first promise in this book is we have recovered from the seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. Yes, we do recover from alcoholism. I am living proof, and there's a lot of other people in this room that's living proof. So, but can't do it alone. And with that, I want to share this last part. It's at the bottom of page 87 on 88. As it says, we constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show. Humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, thy will be done. Instead of my will, it's God's will be done. This is a solution to Alcoholics Anonymous. People tap into that power greater than yourself. Gain this personal relationship with this power, no matter what y'all call this power. I know what my power is. And then it goes on to say we are then in much less danger of excitement, fear, anger, worry, self-pity, or foolish decisions. I can make some decisions today that ain't near as foolish as I did in my drinking career, but see, one thing about it, we alcoholics are undisciplined, so we let God discipline us in a way that we have just outlined. But that is not all. Once again, Bill goes on to say there is action, and more action, faith without works is dead. Wow. So today, we allow God to direct us instead of trying to direct ourselves. My own direction, my own self-will kept me drunk. Today I rely on God. He reveals to me what his will is. The main purpose is to stay in conscious contact with him, and it develops, it happens. So when people need help, we reach out to them, and we can take them through the book. We look for the alcoholic first in this program, but then we help people in the communities. We help people everywhere we go. Whether it's simple pushing a bugger to a car for somebody, or just let's our greeting, hello, or goodbye, stuff like that. But we react differently today. The big book does tell us this is designed for living that really works. And then one of my sponsor's favorite paragraphs in the big book on page 88, it says, it works. It really does. It do. So thank you everybody for being here today for me. And God bless. Have a happy Sunday. And hope somebody got something out of this today. And I appreciate all of you. So, Brother Dan, we'll close it out. And then, if anyone got any questions or comments, we can address them then. Thank you, brother, for your assistance.
Thank you. No, thank you for a powerful one today. Thank you.